When they do something like this is the ultimate betrayal of that trust.
In my head.
Hey everyone, I don't know if it's so obvious on the camera, but it's kind of gross out today. It's muggy, it's kind of drizzly a little bit, and yesterday it was windy and crazy, so that's why there was no video yesterday. But today, I want to talk about something that we may have experienced ourselves. Did you ever hear your girlfriend or your boyfriend's phone ringing, and then you went over to look at it, and there was a name that you didn't recognize, and you got this feeling in your chest like, oh my god, what is going on here? Who is this person? And then you started to freak out. And then if you were one of the unlucky people, I've been one of these people myself, where you found out that your partner actually was cheating on you, that they've had some infidelity, it's like your whole world turns apart. You start to feel really crazy, like you start becoming hypervigilant and looking for threats everywhere, looking to see what has this person been doing, what has happened to me, who can I trust? You start to blame yourself for what's going on, you start to blame the other person, you might start dissociating because it's just too overwhelming, you feel like you need to get out of your body. These are all PTSD symptoms. So why are we experiencing PTSD symptoms after infidelity? Well, that's a very good question, and first you want to question, are you even experiencing PTSD? And the answer is that you may not be. But if we want to look into this further, there are systems in your body, neurological systems, that are causing you to feel the way that you're feeling. One of those is the fear system, and the fear system is the system that we typically think of when we think of PTSD. It's that fight, flight, or freeze system, and what happens is our amygdala in our brain goes off when we see a threat, when we feel threatened in some way, and we freak out. Our heart rate starts to go up, our breathing becomes shallow, we mobilize, our muscles become tense, and we get ready to either fight back, to flee the heck out of there, or if we feel like there's nothing that we can do and we feel like our life is being threatened, we just shut down and we freeze and we start to detach from our body, detach from what's going on around us to protect ourselves. We also have another system in our body that's related to bonding with other people, specifically bonding with our parents, but that system becomes used for bonding with other people later, and that is the panic/grief system. The panic and grief system goes off when we feel that somebody's leaving us, when we feel like they're abandoning us, when they're withdrawing from us, particularly when it's our mother and we're a child. We feel that they're leaving and we cry out. That's the panic. We want them to come back. We try to get them to come back by crying out, by making ourselves known. If they repeatedly ignore our cries, that's when grief starts to set in and we start to accept the loss of this person. When it comes to PTSD, this fear system gets hijacked and we encode a specific memory of something that was life-threatening into memory, and then whenever that memory gets triggered via something that reminds us of that memory, something we may not even be consciously aware of, that's when the fear system kicks on and we freak out. So one reason we might be experiencing PTSD symptoms after infidelity, after somebody cheats on us, after they have an affair, is because they're triggering some kind of memory of something that was life-threatening to us. Now, when you're a child and your parent is neglectful or they're abusive to you, you're dependent on them. They are your sense of stability in the world. They protect you from life-threatening dangers. So when they become a threat, your life is in danger. And you could encode that when they separate from you. That panic fear could be encoded as a PTSD memory. And so when somebody now in the present is your intimate partner, and you have a strong bond with them and they start to separate from you, as in infidelity, that may light up your fear system and you might start to freak out and have these PTSD symptoms because of the original memory of your parents abusing you. However, we're not just dependent on somebody else in childhood. Sometimes in adulthood, we get into these relationships where somebody is abusive to us. It happens over time. Our self-esteem starts to erode slowly over time as we're in this relationship with this person, and we might become dependent on them. So the same threatening fear that our life might be in danger may come from becoming overly dependent and reliant on this one person in our life and feeling that if they leave us, our life is truly in danger. So we may also encode a PTSD memory because of an abusive relationship. We should make note here, though, that you don't have to have a PTSD memory to have the fear system kick on, and anytime that somebody is leaving you, your panic system's going to go on. You're going to be questioning, like, what's going on here? And infidelity is a very triggering event for people, just in general, because this is somebody that you love and that you trust and that you've opened up, you've become vulnerable to, that you care, and when they do something like this is the ultimate betrayal of that trust. Something that I'd like to point out here is that these feelings of jealousy, these feelings of panic, they're not feelings that you're just immature and you need to willpower your way through them and learn to accept the situation. They're genuine, real feelings that you're experiencing inside of your body. Of course, you do want to validate that these feelings are actually accurate, so you'll want to see if this person really has cheated on you, and that's something you'll have to figure out how to do on your own. Sometimes it just comes down to a gut feeling of what you think is going on, but you don't just want to rely on these feelings, because it is very natural to feel this way when you perceive that somebody is leaving you, when you perceive that somebody has cheated on you, but that doesn't mean that's actually what's happened, so you got to be a little bit cautious here. Here is the good news, and believe it or not, there's actually quite a bit of good news. The first bit of good news is that PTSD is something that's completely treatable. There are many different ways to handle it. So if you are experiencing symptoms of PTSD, you can go in to see a therapist. Even if you're not experiencing PTSD, you're just having a hard time getting through whatever it is that you're going through, a therapist will be able to help you with it. It is something that's manageable. I've lived with it myself. The other piece of good news is that if this is something that's happened and you are still wanting to work on the relationship, and so is your partner, you can also get through that. Something that I found very helpful when I went through this myself was a book called After the Affair. I will have a link for it down below in my favorites. It just gave me some context to what was going on and helped me understand all the different emotions and things that I was going through. It helped me see what my partner may have been going through at the time and maybe why they would have done what they did. And it helped me understand how we could both move forward together or move separately apart. And it just gave me a better feeling of knowing what could be possible rather than just swimming in my own head of fears. If you do decide that this is something that you want to work on with your partner, of course you'll want to see a couples therapist. You may want to see one that allows you to speak to them separately in separate individual sessions, just so that you feel like you're being heard and it doesn't always feel so intimidating when you're in the room together with your partner. Sometimes you got to do that too. You have to be able to talk with them. But just in the initial settings, I find it helpful to be able to explain what I'm feeling without feeling that pressure that the other person's right there, because I've had two different couples therapists that I know what I liked personally. And specifically, if you do seem to be having some of these trauma symptoms, you seem to be having difficulty, I think that emotionally focused therapy is a really good form of couples therapy that may be helpful in this kind of situation where there is infidelity and you're feeling PTSD symptoms. If this is something that you're going through, I know that it is devastating. I know that it can feel soul-crushing. It can feel like the worst thing you've ever experienced in your life, and in some ways it may actually be, but I want you to know that everything that you're feeling is normal, that it is a normal process in your body that's going on, and that you can correct for some of this. You can move on from the relationship if that's what you need to do. You can try to repair the relationship if that's what you want to try to do. Getting the aid of a therapist is going to be the most useful because you'll have an outside party who can help you navigate this, who's trained to navigate this, and can help you challenge some of those thoughts in your head that might be making you feel like things are overwhelming and that this is too much to be able to handle. I know I needed that outside source that helped me get a grip on things, and it helped me to feel better after my partner's infidelity. If you want to learn more about your mental health, head on over to youtube.com/RyanLiberty, hit subscribe. If you found this information helpful and you want to support me on my mission of humanizing mental health, head on over to Patreon and join the rest of my patrons in supporting me over there. Thank you to my patrons. I'd love to hear your story, so if you're somebody who's experienced PTSD symptoms after infidelity, what have you gone through? What has it been like for you? What tips helped you to get through that? How did you move past that part of your life? Because I know that's a difficult thing to go through. As always, thank you everybody for joining me out here today. I'll see you around next time.